once the opportunity arose for him to close the show, he did it in emphatic style.
Whatever he hits falls.
And anybody who was there the last time we were there at the Royal Albert Hall will doubtless underline the fact that when you go there it has a very, very special atmosphere indeed. Daniel has established himself as a great attraction, as one of the most exciting young boxers, if not the most exciting young heavyweight in the world, and a little bit of history as well when we will be seeing Nicola in a women's world title fight, first time that has happened at the Royal Albert Hall as well. Well, Frank Warren is promoting it, and it's going to be just great to be back in somewhere which I think it was you who said, didn't you? It's like a posh York Hall.
It certainly is. It's, the atmosphere you get at the Albert Hall is beyond, well, it's just great to be there, and the fighters respond to it. We had a fantastic show there last time. I'm sure we'll do this time. And by the way, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It'll be great. Looking forward to it.
Tickets have gone well. There are still a few available, I'm told, but it's guaranteed to be another one which is going to be that special atmosphere that we've seen over the years.
It will be. You know, look, we got the, I think the best young heavyweight in world boxing on there. We've got the best female boxer in the world, in my opinion, on there, and a great undercard with some really good young fighters on this. I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah, we've got some outstanding undercard fights. I've seen Willie Hutchinson out in the audience somewhere. He's going to be in action. Dennis McCann back as well, and others. There's some real good emerging young talent.
There are, and that's one thing that Queensbury and BT are good at doing, is bringing through these young talented guys and exposing them to the British public. Now you mentioned Willie, who I think is going to be a serious contender at light heavyweight. And also Dennis the Menace, wherever he is, I can't see him at the moment, he's out there, he's excited little sod, and everybody enjoys watching him fight, so especially I do. So it's going to be great there, and you say all these other youngsters on there, really good quality young fighters.
Well, before we get to the main fights, if you like, Daniel Dubois against Ebenezer TETTEH in the world title fight involving Nicola Adams, let's talk a little bit about Archie Sharp and Declan Geraghty. Archie undefeated in 16 fights, and he had his breakthrough fight against Leon Woodstock, and then following that with a stoppage win against Sergio Gonzalez, and then Jordan McCory in his last fight, and Declan Geraghty, who never seems to be in a dull fight, the pretty boy from Dublin, and a lot of people are saying that this could be a really fascinating contest.
Well, it could be. I don't know, pretty boy, let's have a look. Yeah, not bad.
Well, it wasn't me who invented, I didn't invent that one.
Anyway, well, Archie's, he's into the title winning habit since last October, and he's an ambitious young man, and for him it's onwards and upwards. But in Declan, I think he's got a tough challenge, and this looks like it could be a potential fight of the evening.
Well, let's start with Declan then. Welcome. Looking forward to Friday night.
Thanks very much for having me.
Hold your microphone, so yeah, that's working.
Thanks very much for having me. Sorry to tell you, Frank, I'm here to spoil the party. You might be disappointed Friday night, but this will happen. Archie's a good boxer, yeah, he's a good boxer. He's rangy, switches, southpaw orthodox. He's a mover. I'm not really worried about him. He hasn't been tested yet. Like, he's beat Woodstock and Jordan, which I don't rate at all. Like, it'd be really handy fights for me. If I got them kind of easy fights, I've been given a bit more of a difficult task. I'll take nothing away from his WBO champion. I'm coming to his den. But expect me to be in an entertaining fight. I'm going to come forward and I'll put the pressure on. I'm going to see what he's made of.
At the beginning of the year, you were saying, if I don't make something in this year, in 2019, it might be time to consider whether or not I'm going to stay in the sport. But here you are, and this kind of is the big night, isn't it?
Well, I'm not thinking past this night, and I do believe I'm 100% going to win it. And so there's no ifs or buts about what I'll be doing next. I'll be becoming the WBO European champion, and then I'm here to stay. You know what I mean? I'm a crazy Irish man. I was here to fight, and don't give a fuck about anything else,
so to speak. What sort of tactics do you bring into it, Declan? Because, you know, I mean, you've shown those fights against John O'Carroll that you can get into a war if you need to. Do you think this is going to be like that, or might this be a bit more technical?
I think Archie's going to move. he's going to go southpaw, he's going to move on the back foot. I'm going to come forward, I actually switch. I'm actually more of an orthodox fighter. I've been southpaw for a few years, but I switch. I'm going to come forward as an orthodox fighter, put my head on his chest and see how tough he can be. The boys have been fighting are one dimensional, they're just straightforward. They don't bring anything to the table. No disrespect to Leon and Jordan. And he's done a good job on the ball. It's going to be showtime Friday night. I'm going to see how good he is.
But do you think people have underestimated Archie's power as a puncher, that maybe he's a bit sharper a puncher than sometimes people give him credit for?
Yeah, I think he's like 8 knockouts. He hasn't, like I said, he hasn't fought anyone that say, yeah, but some journeymen are tough, you know what I mean? But power, you have 8-ounce gloves on, anyone can get hurt. It goes to show, you know what I mean? Like, I was walking the Marco fight, I was only warming up, I got a bit confident, a bit over cocky, and one shot came out of nowhere, which he didn't believe he could do. So like I said, the 8-ounce gloves on, from the word go, I've always said anyone has a punch with 8-ounce gloves on.
Well, let's hear from Archie. You'll hear what he's got to say there, and undoubtedly you'll have studied his style and you'll have worked out your tactics. What do you think for Friday night?
Yeah, do you know what? Declan Gary is a very good fighter. We all know that he can box. He's sitting there saying he's going to come forward and sit on my chest. Fair play to him. Lucky I've had good sparring with Ricky Burns, who does that for 10, 12 rounds anyway, so it's handy. I just adapt to anyone's style.
Do you believe that he's going to come forward and put his head on your chest, or do you think that's a bit of bluff?
Listen, if that's what he's been training to do, then fair play to him. But whatever he brings up on Friday, I'll be there to match with anything. So, like I say, a great fighter can adapt to any sort of style, and that's what I believe I am, a great fighter.
We talked about those wins you had against Leon Woodstock, against Jordan McCurry, against Gonzalez. Do you feel that you're significantly a better fighter now than you were 12 months ago?
Yeah, 100%. I've got a very good team behind me. Paul, my nutritionist, does all sorts of tests, and since in the last 12 months, my results are showing, numbers don't lie. I'm getting bigger, stronger at the weight, and on Friday you'll see a completely different Archie shot, because Declan does bring a completely different style. Well, he's saying he comes forward, but we'll soon see what style he comes with, but you'll see a different Archie shot, because I'll have to adjust to the different style that he brings on Friday.
I'm sure you'll have sold bundles of tickets as ever. What about fighting at the Royal Albert Hall? Because so many great names have been there over the years.
Yeah, 100%. It's an ironic venue, and unfortunately at the beginning of the year, obviously I was injured, so I couldn't be on that show, but I still went to the show. And what a great venue it is. The atmosphere was unbelievable. And yeah, I look forward to being in that ring on Friday night. And
winning, are you going to struggle with the fact that he's a southpaw? How much experience do you have of that?
Listen, to be honest with you, I'm just there to do my job. I'm there to box how I want to box. And regarding southpaw or orthodox, it doesn't really matter, because, like I said, with my fight, it'll be how I want to fight that night. So if he wants to come southpaw or orthodox, it's up to him. Whatever he wants to do, I'll be there to match whatever. I'll have the answer for it.
Are you ready for this to go long, or do you think you might catch him early?
Well, we'll soon see. Like I say, he has been chinned. I'm not going by that, but it's possible. Just going to be in the back of his head. He's been knocked out 3 times now. That will play on any man's head.
I wasn't knocked out 3 times.
Okay, well, you stopped 3 times, yeah?
No, I got disqualified once. Stopped twice.
Well, regardless,
One
you've
was a body
been.
punch, and the referee stopped it.
Well, either way, it still happened. So that's what I'm saying. So that's still going to be in the back of any man's head. It would be. But listen, I've made sure. I know this fella here, he's obviously trained hard, he's going to be leaving no stones unturned. He knows that this WBO is a massive fight for him. So I've had to make sure that I've trained harder than ever before to make sure this fella here don't come and take my belt in London.
Declan, last time out, when you fought Marco McCullough, you were winning the fight, took the first couple of rounds, and then got whacked by that right hand in the third. What went wrong? What happened?
Yeah, I just got comfortable. He said after the interview he couldn't believe what he didn't expect it. To be honest with you, I expected an easy fight, and I was thrown into an easy fight. This boxing fight happens, it's a learning curve. Like I said, 8-ounce gloves, anything can happen. Ficini was, that's his opinion, no disrespect to Archie, I don't know him personally, so I can't not like him or not hate him, you know what I mean? At the end of the day, it's this business. And I'm here to take his title, but for them, I've been, Tennyson's known as one of the biggest punchers. Tennyson the referee jumped in and stopped me there with him, which I was fresh on keep on going. Basically, the referee asked me, was I alright? I said yeah, and the referee jumped in 10 seconds to go to that bell. John with the body punches, the referee stopped. And then Marco, so we have Archie now in front of us, and I hope he brings a big crowd, because to be honest with you, I'm bringing a small army, but a loud army. I think there's about 70 to 75 tickets on at the down. So I'm an Irish fighter coming abroad, so it's a good fan base to have.
It's what you want, Frank, isn't it? Two fighters who are really up for it, talking with a modicum of respect and knowing that on the night it's going to be
Fireworks.
interesting to see. It's going to be
fireworks.
fireworks.
There's going to be fireworks. You know, you've got a guy who's come to fight, and obviously another guy who relishes people come to fight him. So it's going to be a great fight for the fans, and the best man will win on the night. We'll cope with the style, and I'm certainly looking forward to it.
Just for a moment to look beyond, I know you don't like to do it necessarily, but it's a talented division at the moment. There's the likes of Sam Bowen, of Zelfa Barrett, there's good names out there for whoever wins this to move on.
Some big fights to be made next year between the guys, and I know they all want to find out who's the best man. So this is one of the stepping stones towards that, to find out who's the best of the Brits. And then the winner can go on to fight for a world title. Sorry, I apologise.
No, I'm not Brit.
I just
win, so I hope you have a good plan for me for what's after this week.
I was just about
Good,
to correct myself.
man.
You know that confidence, is it?
But, well, whoever wins, we're going to find out who's the best out of everyone, out of Ireland and Britain. We'll find out who's the best guy and move forward. But it's going to be a good fight. It's up to you to go and prove what you say you're going to do. We'll find out if you can do that on Friday. So we're all looking forward to it.
Let's move our attention on to the first women's world title fight at the Albert Hall. WBO female flyweight title. Nicola Adams up against Maria Salinas, who is in the audience today, and she'll be doing photographs with Nicola afterwards. But again, a little bit of history, Frank.
Well, it certainly is. A golden girl, two Olympic gold medals. She's in action, and she's you can think what she's done. 2 gold medals, and she's world champion. Unfortunately, the champion, who she was due to fight, has been inactive because of injury. So from being the interim, she's now the full champion. So this is the first fight as a world champion, and I know for a fact that Nicola wants to show in the ring why she is the champion, and she's got a tough Mexican who's 6 years younger than her, and who's got a wealth of experience. So it's going to be a tough fight for Nicola, but the class that she's got, I hope she comes through.
And Maria came very close to winning the world title in her 3rd title challenge. This is going to be her 4th title challenge. And last year when she fought Aureli Messino, she lost a split decision. WBO made it their female fight of the year.
Yeah, and on those occasions, it's always, I believe she's only lost them on points. As you say, one was a split decision. So Nicola knows what she's got in front of her. She knows it's a tough fight for her. But, you know, this is what legends do. You know, she's legendary as a woman, as a fighter, and I want to see her come through this and then go on and be really an active fighter from now on. That's what we intend to do.
Yeah, that's probably a good point on which to begin this with, Nicola, because it's your first fight since October last year. It must, I'm sure, be feeling very good to be back. Do you feel a little bit nervous about it after so long?
No, I just feel good to be back. I'll be nervous fight night. I'm nervous for every fight. For me, if I wasn't nervous going into a fight, I'd feel like I wasn't taking my opponent seriously. I was underestimating my opponent. So I will have those nerves, and it's good to have those nerves. Makes me sharp, keeps me alert, and I have that a little bit of adrenaline as well.
Just tell everybody a little bit about your preparations, a little bit about your sparring to get you into fight mode, to actually get you where you want to be ready for this.
Yeah, I've been training really hard in the gym. Me and Dominic have been working on quite a few tactics for the fight. I've been sparring some good lads in the gym. Kid Galahad, as we know, is really good, really difficult to hit. If I can land a few punches on him, I can land a few punches on anybody. So I feel ready, I feel confident. Everything has gone to plan, basically. I'm just ready to go. Fight night.
Maria is a come forward sort of fighter, aggressive. She's going to be right there in front of you. Is that going to suit you, or is that going to maybe make life awkward for you, uncomfortable?
That's perfect for me. The best fighters to fight are the ones that stand right in front of you. You don't have to go looking for them. You always know exactly where they're going to be, and that's right in front of your face. And it's the perfect place to get hit, as far as I'm concerned.
You presumably have been able to watch film of her and see what she's all about. In that last fight, she started really well.
Yeah, she did. Started really well, coming forward. I don't know whether that will be a game plan for me or not, but either way, if she boxes, I've got a game plan for that. If she comes to fight, I've got a game plan for that. I'm strong, I'm fit, I'm healthy, and I'm ready to go, and I want that win more than anybody else does. 36
years old now, and you had the great triumphs in the Olympics. How do you feel now in 2019? Is your appetite still burning as fiercely as it ever did?
Yeah, it is, which is why I turned pro. I wanted new challenges, new goals for myself, and now I have a lot of goals as a pro. I want to unify the flyweight division, and this is the first step in the right direction.
Have you put a time scale on that? How soon do you think you could see yourself getting that?
I'd love to do it as soon as possible, but you know, it's the pro game. It's getting everybody in line and getting them wanting to fight you. But now, hopefully, I've got this world title now. I can get the other champions over the line and get them boxing.
We referred to the fact that it was a little bit of history, a world title fight at the Albert Hall, and fighting in this fabulous arena on Friday nights. How much does that mean to you to know that you're going to be going into the record books and commanding the attention on the same stage where so many great fighters have been in the past?
Oh, it means a lot to me. Muhammad Ali was my hero, still is my hero. So to be able to box in the same place that he did is a dream come true to me. I just want everybody to be there, fight night, to be a part of history. This is history in the making, and anybody watching at home, anybody in the arena, you're all going to be a part of that, and it's going to be one hell of a night.
Any predictions, any message to your opponents about what she might expect?
No, I like to keep my poker face, keep my cards down until fight night.
It's just going to be good to see her back, isn't it, Frank?
It is. We missed her, so now she's back, and I'll do the business next to her on Friday, and we'll see more of her in the future, that's for sure.
So, we move on to our heavyweights, and Daniel, who you may not know, perhaps you do know, has been named the British Boxing Writers' Young Boxer of the Year, just 22 years old, British champion now, and on Friday aiming to take the Commonwealth title as well. Joe Erskine back in 1955, Joe Bugner in 69, Frank Bruno in 1985, and Herbie Hyde in 1993. Those are the previous heavyweights who won that accolade that Daniel's got, and it's an indication of just what a great year he's had, Frank.
Oh, he's had a fantastic year. He's gone from strength to strength. Every performance he's improved. As I've said earlier, he's, for me, the best young heavyweight in the world. I put a big burden on his shoulders by saying that, but he's delivered, and he's fighting a guy who's 19 wins, 16 by knockouts. You know, if he's half as good as Larty, he comes to fight like Larty did, we know we're going to get a cracking fight there. So Daniel's got to be his best. I know he treats everybody, trains hard for everybody like it. He's fighting for a world title. In Martin Bowers, who's done a brilliant job with him. They've got a great chemistry between the two of them. And this guy's here to, he thinks or he hopes he's going to upset the apple cart. We will see on Friday if that's the case.
Well, the statistics certainly tell us that Ebenezer can punch. He's 31 years old, stands 6'3", is expecting to be weighing around about 16 stones, and 16 stoppage wins inside 19 wins.
Well, he can punch, there's no doubt about that, but so can Daniel, so you can expect some fireworks with these two.
Now, Ebenezer doesn't speak great English, but he's got his man with him here who's going to help translate, hopefully. If you just pick the microphone up, please. And I was going to, we mentioned Richard Larty there, and as you know, he gave Daniel Dubois a tremendous fight earlier in the year for as long as it lasted. 4 rounds eventually is where it finished. So for people who've not seen Ebenezer before, you know, the statistics say that he can punch, but how does he compare as a fighter with Richard Larty?
He said, he
Hold the mic right up to your mouth. That's it.
He said, Latte, he gave Latte sparring for this last fight, and Latte spars with him all the time. But as far as he's concerned, he said he's a better fighter than Latte.
In what way?
He can move and he can punch, so he can do both of them.
So these quotes that we've seen being put out by the publicity office about I'm going to finish what Richard Larty started, you really believe that?
He said he's very sure he's going to beat Daniel on Friday.
Can you hear this, guys?
Are you hearing him okay?
No, they can't hear it. Could you hold the mic to your phone?
Yeah, right in front of you. Tell us again what he expects to do on Saturday. On Friday, rather.
On Friday, he expects to beat Daniel on Friday. He's trying to finish off what Richard put in. Richard gave a good fight, but he kind of ran out of gas. But he's going to beat him on Friday.
What do you think of Daniel as a fighter?
Yes, he said he's watched him. He watched him against Latte. He watched him against Gorman. He knows how he fights, so he knows what he's going to do to be able to beat him on Friday.
Calling Daniel out.
We will see. And to what extent, you know, I mean, have you really been calling for Daniel? You've been wanting this fight and a chance to be the first Ghanaian Commonwealth heavyweight champion.
Okay. You've been calling for this fight. Fighting okay with our fighting in Haiti. But me over feel I get Friday over feel the first Ghanaian Commonwealth champion. Okay, he wants to let Ghanaian fans back home know he's going to bring the title home on Saturday.
Okay, well, Daniel, he's the WBO African heavyweight champion, and he says he's going to take the title home.
Well, it's my job not to let that happen and come through again and come through and start.
Have you had a chance to see him at all?
Not really. I've seen a few tapes, a few clips. I haven't really studied them. I don't study my opponents that much. I'm just ready for a fight.
You quite rightly, in your last fight against Nathan Gorman, got a lot of positive reaction to it because not only your power, but also your boxing. I mean, were you pleased to be able to show just how far you've progressed as a boxer as well as just a puncher?
I wasn't trying to do anything. I went in there and I just do what I know I can do. I've been in this game for a very long time through the amateur system, so it's just natural for me, using my jab and just putting on a boxing performance.
How good do you think he was, Frank, in that last win? Because there were people forget there were plenty of people and fairly respected people within boxing who were saying that the movement and the skills of Nathan Gorman were going to give him absolute fits and that he was going to be possibly on the end of a very, very tight fight. It didn't happen in the end.
Well, no, I mean, Nathan actually caught Daniel a couple of good shots, which I'm sure he'll acknowledge. But at the end of the day, it was going to be a boxer against a puncher, and it turned out that the key to winning that fight was the jab, and the better jab was with Daniel, and he showed that he can box, and obviously we know he's got the power and did what he had to do, but he can box. You know, he's not just a big, you know, cumbersome clubber. When he wants to, when he gets that jab going, and he's getting better and better, it's you know, he shows how capable he is. I mean, I've said it on many occasions. He's the best young heavyweight I've been involved with, and the names you mentioned, who boxed at the Albert Hall, all those guys, I think at this stage of his career, he's a better fighter than all of them. And considering he only had 7 senior bouts as an amateur, that's a bit of a, you know, where he's at now is something a little bit special. He's a special young man.
How much more improvement do you believe you've still got there, Daniel? Because I mean, you seem to be getting better and better with every fight by leaps and bounds.
Yeah, every fight improves. So every challenge brings something different. So every fight, I show what I can do, and I get better at it.
I saw a quote, an interview with Frank Bruno, saying that he believes that if it happened, that you were put in with the top men, that you'd be ready for it now, never mind in the future. I know Frank's job is to just bring you along step by step, but Frank's saying that he believes that you are a genuine world-class fighter right now.
No, I definitely believe I am, and it's only a matter of time before I'm up there, you know, with the big names. But you know, on Friday I've got to take care of business and handle this opponent first.
This would be your 7th belt, I think, if you took this already. In 13 fights.
Yeah. Again, this is just the path set for me. So I'm a man on a mission. I'm not going to be stopped.
He's coming here fancying it though, and if he does come out and fight better than Richard Lartey is, it's going to be interesting, isn't it? Because Richard caught you a couple of times.
No, if he's coming up for it, I'm up for it. It's going to be a good fight.
Fireworks?
Definitely.
Frank, you talk about his place where you believe he is in world boxing now. He's got to win this one, but there are other big fights out there which could be happening sooner rather than later.
Well, you know, he's got to win this one. We've seen quite a few so-called easy jobs and easy fights happen over the last year that have not turned out to be the case. And a few upsets, and a few guys have given a great account of themselves in fights that they expected to just be fall guys. He's not a fall guy. He's 19-0, undefeated fighter. You know he can punch. He's got to come through that, and then we'll look at what happens afterwards. You know, I've made a statement as how I look at him, look at his ability and how good he is at this moment in time. Beats this guy and does it in style. If he does all those things, then you know he's not far off.
What makes you, you know, you pay tribute to Martin Bowers, his trainer. How do you think that Daniel has really improved in the last 18 months, 2 years? Where's he added on his game?
I think from the boxing ability, you know, obviously it's not just about the fighting, it's being in the gym, it's training, quality sparring, which he has, and you know, what I've liked, what I've seen, is how his jab is developed and what a good jab it is. You know, for me, my old mentor in boxing was Ernie Fossey, who worked with me for many years, late Ernie Fossey. He used to say, if you can't jab, you can't fight. And that is it, really. Good fighters have great jabs, and he's got a great jab. You know, there's a bit of a comparison to make at this stage of his career, but he's got that Larry Holmes jab, and I love that. I love seeing fighters who can jab.
That's a wonderful tribute to a jab, because I think in our lifetime there's probably not been a man who threw a jab better than Larry Holmes. Does that mean something to you, hearing that, Daniel?
No, it's a great compliment to have, especially from Frank. He's been in the business a long time, so I know he knows what he's talking about.
So, finally, little message for Ebenezer about what he can expect?
No, a devastating performance, as I've always shown, and I'm going to turn up to a fight night, you know, giving it my all, so I'm ready for it.
He's not a braggart. He prefers to do his talking in the ring, Daniel, but he's becoming, I was going to say, but he has become one of those fighters who you definitely want to see, because you just know it's going to be spectacular, Frank.
Silent but deadly. Once he's in that ring, you know, it's just, it's all excitement. There's no doubt about it. When he's in the ring, it's you're on the edge of your seat waiting to see those bombs explode.
And a final rallying call for people to get there. And it's Friday night, which for some people isn't the easiest, but it's a journey worth making.
Definitely, you're in central London. You're going to see a great night. Nicola and all the fellas at the top table. This is going to be a good night, and we're going to see some of the best talent in Britain and Ireland.
It's going to be special. You're going to be able to watch it on BT Sport. We're going to be doing face-to-face photographs in a moment or two, and if you're not getting
the world champion, do you think that he is overlooking you?
For RG, I really couldn't give a fuck he's overlooked me or not, to be honest with you. At the end of the day, he's dealing with me Friday. For boxing wise, he's a good boxer. RG won 9 underage English titles, did he?
Yeah,
I mean, he's experienced, good amateur he was. I won 12 Irish titles. So, boxing IQ, he was the better boxing IQ. I'm going to take nothing away from him. He's overlooked me, he's a silly fucker. If not, he's in for it. If he has, it's going to be a hard night to work for. I expect a hard night to work for me. And I believe Friday night, everyone in England's going to be in for a great night of boxing.
Archie, are you a silly? Are you overlooking him?
No one's overlooked anyone. Like I say, he's got himself in the best position he can, and I have as well. And like you say, it's the best man wins on the night. He's a great boxer, I'm a great boxer, and obviously I believe I'm going to be the best, and that's why, that's why Jamel Herring was mentioned. But not overlooking anyone, like I said, Friday is what I've got to deal with first. Then fights at a later date for sure.
any more. Any more for any more? Right, well, thank you very much for coming today, and we'll do all the...
Once the opportunity arose for him to close the show, and he did it in emphatic style.
Whatever he hits falls.